Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. Why is local government upset over a new Michigan state law? And if enacted, new amendments to the Oxford Village Charter could eliminate some from holding office.
Learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. After all the latest controversy surrounding our state legislators in Lansing, another issue has popped up. On January 6, Governor Rick Snyder signed into Public Act 269, which prohibits the use of public funds and public resources for distribution of information containing local election or ballot references. The act, known as the gag order, includes exclusion of communications via radio, television, mass mailings, and pre-recorded phone messages. Obviously, not everyone is happy with the bill. For example, Oxford Township Supervisor Bill Dunn said everybody always talks about how voters should at least be able to get all the facts, then the state ties our hands when it comes to putting information out there. Similar statements have been made by both Addison Township and also Leonard administrators. Local State Representative Brad Jacobson, who supported the Public Act 269, said what the bill really did is reinforce what is already law by not being able to use public money to advocate a ballot proposal. Challenging the new law, however, are two proposals, one on the House floor and another on the Senate floor. Both would repeal the act.
With new amendments to the Oxford Village Charter, your local government officials should become more accountable. In the past, records show that at least one member who sat on the village council did benefit financially from the village contracts. All he had to do was, under the old rules, abstain from voting. Another was indebted financially to the village while continuing to serve on council. Under the new charter proposal, council members must be an example. They must not have self-interests and cannot serve on the board if they owe money to the village. You can follow this issue and other local public meeting issues by going to our website, occtv.org, and you can watch government meetings from there. Just click on the programs and then find the meeting you want to watch. In this election year, it's very important that you know your candidate and how they vote.
A local principal for the Crossroads for Youth was allowed to resign from her job when it was discovered by administrators the school's credit card was used to purchase personal items. Shelley Chapman, who was hired in 2014, used the credit card to make purchases at a furniture store, a bed and bath, Coach purses, and Rochester movie theater. In all, Chapman picked up over $3,000 in charges. No additional action will be in place if the woman repays the credit card loss.
The Oxford Township Planning Commission postponed a decision on a 28-acre development east of Dakota Court and south of Poppy Hill Drive on Manitou Lake in Oxford because connecting neighborhood Lakes of Indianwood residents are afraid the development will devalue their $400,000 plus homes. Access to the proposed site is a street which runs through the Indianwood subdivision. But according to the Planning Commission, neighboring complaints are not the only concern, but a number of small details need to be worked out before a final consideration can be made by the township.
And the Oxford Village Planning Commission denied a favorable recommendation to council for a 76-unit development on Glaspie Street. Commissioner Jack Curtis made the motion and explained why.
1, the proposed 76 units or 35 more units than would be otherwise permitted under RM1 zoning for the project site and 11 more units than would be permitted even if the lease area is taken into account. Number 2, the PUD agreement does not provide adequate concessions from the developer to the village in exchange for the requested additional density. And number 3, the applicant has refused to negotiate any further reduction in density with the village administration.
The motion passed 4-1 with 2 commissioners absent. Village Attorney Bob Davis explained to a crowded chamber what the next step will be.
The procedures in the village, the Planning Commission is the reviewing and recommending body because this issue is a PUD which involves a underlying rezoning. The legislative body, the village council, is the only body in your village that has the legal authority to have a final say over an amendment of that sort. So this body has just voted to recommend to the village council a denial.
Commissioner Bonnie Staley qualified her no vote.
The only reason I voted to deny this is the fact that the developer refused to decrease the units. I appreciate everyone saying anything, but as I thought it over, I didn't have, I didn't see anything wrong with anything that was going on except for the number of units he was going to build. Other than that, I would have voted for it.
Not appearing to be satisfied with the Planning Commission denial, a village resident accused both the council and the commission of playing a shell game.
Members of this community are concerned that the Planning Commission and that the village has taken measures to try and usurp the possibility of the residents articulating their positions on this, speaking out against it, and it almost seems as if their ability to tender an opinion in many fashions has been hindered by the rescheduling of appointments, cancellations by the builder to appear, and things of that nature. Is there anything that can be done? Is there any, and this is a question, is there any public notice that is required for a reapplication of the permit to rezone? Because this almost seems like a shell game.
Attorney Davis cleared up the residents' perception quickly.
This board has allowed more public comment than is required under law. The only thing this board was required to do was to schedule, publish, and hold the first public hearing, and that's when all of the comments should have been taken. It was published on the website, it was published where it's supposed to be published, it was published in the newspaper of general circulation according to state law. We, and through some of my guidance, have opened up communication with the public, I think, well beyond any legal requirements and well beyond any other community that I sit on. So you're trying to say that there's been this conspiracy to hinder communication, and quite frankly, I'm a little offended by that because I think there's been an overachievement of communication in this case.
It comes as no surprise, but the Oxford Leader newspaper has 4 more awards to hang on the wall, thanks to editor C.J. Carnacchio. The Michigan Press Association awarded Carnacchio with 2 first-place awards for editorials, 1 second-place award for a feature photo, and a 3rd with a feature story. The University of Michigan grad has been with Sherman Publications for more than 17 years and has a career total of 80 MPA awards, according to his wife Connie. Each decoration is dedicated to stories written about our community, whether you appreciate the author's opinion or not. Carnacchio has dedicated his award-winning career to his community and a testament to his concerns for our backyard. Congratulations, CJ, and thank you for being a watchdog to the communities you serve. He's a great guy.
Well said. He's done a lot for this community. If I'm not mistaken, memory is slipping, but it seems like this was his first job out of college, and he's been here ever since. So he's entrenched in the community, he cares about the community, and he's had some controversial articles, but I will say he researches everything to find out whether it's true or not, whether we're getting the whole story or not. So, yeah, of course that brings some objection, I'm sure.
Well, he brings things to the forefront. There's no question that, there's conversation, that
he does.
is generated just through the sheer nature of his articles, I think.
Right.
He does a great job.
And I think that's what pleases him the most is his articles do generate conversation and maybe bring some people out of their apathetic position that we tend to fall into when we've been into a community as long as we have been.
And again, you may not agree out there, but he does
his job.
Thought-provoking.
That's right.
Every time you read one of his articles,
That's
very
right.
thought-provoking.
And he's been so good to us. He's really promoted us a lot. OCTV, he stands behind it and believes in what we're here for. So he's been a good friend. Sherman Publications has been a very good friend
It's
to
a
us.
great little newspaper, and I think CJ, provides a good basis for that newspaper.
And I'm a little biased. I used to write for them, so
You did?
I'd love to promote them a little more.
Well, that's interesting.
But congratulations, CJ, personally and from OCTV. That's it for Oxford News This Week. If you want to learn more about these stories and others, go to your local store and pick up a copy of that Oxford Leader newspaper, or better yet, catch us right here at OCTV Charter Channel 191 or AT&T Channel 99.
Coming up next on OCTV, Oxford Sports with Jamie Hughes and School News with John Ochins. Also, join Dave Kenny with Auto Talk and Science in the News.
I'm Terry Stiles, and this is Oxford News This Week, where we bring your news closer to home.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors. And thanks for watching.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, the spear consists of a hollow tube with various kinds of poisons loaded onto the tip or into the tube. A hollow sheath surrounds the tube, whose tip is positioned just inside the cell wall of a bacterium. When triggered, the sheath contracts and twists rapidly, both propelling the spear out of the cell and rotating it at an incredible 100,000 revolutions per minute. These machines have enormous power, says Marek Bassler of the University of Basel in Switzerland. Bassler's team has tagged a spear gun protein with fluorescent molecules so they can watch the guns self-assemble. It turns out that Pseudomonas aeruginosa, a hospital superbug, normally uses its guns in self-defense. It aims and fires back only when attacked by others armed with the T6SS spear guns. Pseudomonas will rapidly dispatch the indiscriminate shooter Vibrio cholerae, for instance, when the two are in close proximity. In crowded conditions, though, Pseudomonas start spearing each other. More and more cells engage in this dueling over time, Bassler says, and the fights carry on for a really long time. While Bassler uses a mutant strain in his studies, the family feuds do reflect natural behavior, says Martin Welch of the University of Cambridge, who studies Pseudomonas. The most likely place to find Pseudomonas is in the biofilms surrounding drain holes, he points out. So every time you clean your sink, you may be breaking up millions of vicious family fights. Wow. And onto the math front. Ancient Babylonians were math whizzes. A mysterious trapezoid described on cuneiform tablets could be a map of Jupiter's path across the sky and shows that Babylonians beat Europeans to the ideas that led to integral calculus by at least 1,500 years. 4 cuneiform tablets at the London's British Museum refer to a trapezoid shape while discussing Jupiter. No one knew why until 2015, when a colleague from Vienna handed a stack of 50-year-old photos to Matthew Ossendriver of Humboldt University in Berlin. Those pictures showed cuneiform tablets from around 100 to 200 BC that had been excavated in the 19th century and transported to the museum. One tablet, inscribed with a calculation involving Jupiter, was unfamiliar. Ossendriver believes the calculation and trapezoid descriptions are recipes for the same process, predicting Jupiter's place in the sky. He thinks the slanted top of the trapezoid is like a graph of Jupiter's speed across the sky and the days it first appears above the horizon. By calculating the area inside the trapezoid, Babylonian astronomers could find where the planet would be, exploiting the same link between velocity and displacement taught in calculus classes. Scholars in Europe during the 14th century are typically credited with the same insight, but the Babylonians had them far earlier. It's quite modern, and it's highly unexpected, Ossendriver says. Wow. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back after this.
I'm John Ochins, and welcome to the Oxford Wildcat School Update. The CSI is coming to our schools this week. That stands for Computer Safety Initiative. It's sponsored by the State Attorney General's Office and deals with teaching our kids about some of the dangers of our internet. Our Assistant Superintendent of Instruction, Ken Weaver, tells us more.
It is called the CSI program, and it's basically it's a cyber safety initiative where they go in and they teach the kids about how to be safe on the internet and how to stay away from dangerous content, predators, and so forth. And then the 6 through 8 covers some of the same material, but then also adds an okay to say component, which is the bullying, anti-bullying program, and trying to make sure that bullying isn't occurring in the schools and that they can report it and so forth.
An adult class is also part of the plan. As you know, one of the goals of the International Baccalaureate program is to get our students to engage with our community in projects to better our world. Gavin Schaefer is a fourth grader at Oxford Elementary, where they're collecting batteries.
If you throw them away, they go into the landfill, explode in the ground, and poison your water supply, crops, and all your food.
So what are you guys doing with the batteries?
We're taking them, we're filling up boxes, taking them to Home Depot, and then we're gonna bring the box back, and then we're just gonna keep on doing it for the rest of the 2 months.
So Home Depot recycles them? Is that what they do?
Yeah.
So they don't end up in a landfill someplace?
Yeah.
That's OES student Gavin Schaefer. Girls on the Run will be kicking off soon over at Lakeville Elementary. Teacher Carrie Klimovics has been one of their mentors for the past 3 years, but now that her daughter has moved on to middle school, she needs some relief. Carrie tells us about the program.
Basically, Girls on the Run is twofold. Half of the program is teaching lessons to girls on self-worth and positive attitudes and just kind of appreciating yourself and your strengths. And then the other half is the goal of running a 5K run in the spring. So we train and we start with a quarter of a mile and we work our way up to the 5K.
So what are the qualifications?
You have to be able to commit 2 days a week after school. The program is about an hour and a half after school on those 2 days. You have to commit to go to a training that they offer. Usually it's a Saturday training that would probably be about 3 or 4 hours that you go to, and they teach you about the program. They give you the supplies. I did it with a friend, so it's helpful to have more than one coach. And the more coaches you can have, the more opportunity it gives kids to be a part of it.
Do the coaches have to be champion runners?
In fact, most of the program is not. It's just basically getting yourself to set a goal for yourself and do a little bit more than you did. Lots of girls walked the 5K and they walked it with their families or their parents, and even when we were training, it's not, you don't have to be a runner to do it. You just have to be able to kind of push yourself to maybe go a little bit further than you did the day before.
Lakeville teacher Carrie Klimovics. Bright Smiles came to Oxford Elementary last week. Jeanette is their clinical director and she tells us more.
Bright Smiles is a government-ran program that covers all of the mitten of Michigan. So we go from, Flint, Swartz Creek, Dundee. Open up nice and big for me. I'm going to touch each tooth. So we are a nonprofit organization, and we go to all of the schools that will allow us to come into, and we see every child for free, whether they have insurance or not. What we like to do is we do restorative care for free. We do x-rays, an exam by a dentist. We do cleanings, we do a fluoride treatment and sealants. Again, 100% free, no charge to the families or the children or the school.
How do the kids qualify for this?
As long as they sign up and bring in a form that's signed by their parents, we see them. That's the only thing that is required, is a signed form from the parents.
Now, it sounds like you can do an awful lot of things for these kids. Do you have the stuff here to do all that with?
Yep, everything is portable. We bring everything into the school so it's convenient. The kids don't miss any school, but for about 15 minutes while we do everything that we need to do for them.
Dr. Rick Davis is one of the dentists in the program. He joined not long ago.
I heard about the program and I had some free time, so I wanted to do some screenings for
Can you get me a new grade?
for children, and today's my first day, and it's been a joy and a pleasure because, like I say, these kids compared to kids that I see in other practices are in much better shape. I'm hardly seeing any decay today, and I see children that are very conscientious about their oral hygiene, and that's wonderful to see.
As you can see, even the Tooth Fairy was there helping out. That's the Oxford School Update for this week. This is Oxford Community Television, keeping it local.
And back with you on Oxford News this week. Time for Oxford Sports. I'm Jamie Hughes. The Wildcats suffered some close calls on the hardwood this past week. Oxford battled against Waterford Kettering on January 26th. lost 61-60. The Wildcats were led by Ray Levine at 19 points. Jordan Jaden had 12. Jeem Laniers at 10. On Friday, the boys took on the mighty Lake Orion Dragons. Despite the Wildcats scratching and clawing away, they were bested 71-65. Coach Brown said they battled hard throughout the entire game. They did show some improvement. However, Orion won the battle on the boards and was able to edge out on the victory. Top scorers of that game, Jaden 25, Laniers 12. The boys take on Ferndale their next contest. We'll have the results in next week's broadcast. The Holly Oxford Boys United Team girls ski team faced against Grand Blanc this past weekend. The boys scored 30-42 victory over the Bobcats. Top finishers for the boys meet were Keith Kotling and Max Ford, Luke Harrington, and Ben Varner. The girls lost to Grand Blanc 49-29. Both the girls and boys will race against Fenton. That'll take place in Mount Holly. We'll keep on top of it, and we'll tell you the results when they come in. The Wildcat swimmers boosted their record to 6-0 after defeating Ferndale 145-35. That was a January 25th contest. February 25th in the blue division, league meet, the Oxford High School went to the pool and took on the Oakland County Championships on February 5th in diving, February 6th in swimming at Lake Orion High School. Again, we'll have the results on those contests next week. The Oxford High School varsity competitive cheer team took fourth place with a score of 756 at the Grand Blanc High School Invitational. That took place on January 30th. Oxford varsity scored 228.5 in round one, and their highest score of the season. Head coach Nicole Curtis in the second round of the scored 222.6 and beat their previous round two score at 17. Round three was a great accomplishment according to Curtis. Again, 305-6 in round three with a total score of 756. The girls beat the highest high school record. The girls bested Grand Blanc, Waterford Mott, Walled Lake Western. The girls next compete February 6th at the OAA Championship. That does take place down at Rochester High School. Congratulations to the ladies with their cheering. The Wildcat Grapplers took a hard 46-17 dual meet loss on January 27th. They took on the mighty Detroit Catholic Central on Saturday. Oxford hosted the Oakland-Macomb dual meet, where 5 teams meet in Oakland County. They faced off the 5 best teams in Macomb County. Of the 5 Oakland teams, which included Clarkston, Brandon, Rochester, Waterford, Kettering, Oxford was the only one to win. Anything Oxford win 4-1 on the day, beating the state-ranked team Macomb Dakota, Warren Woods Tower, and Anchor Bay, as well as Fraser. They lost to Richmond in the state champion last year. If you have an athlete in the Oxford system, I urge you to stay tuned to their website. It's real easy. It's right at your fingertips. It's oxfordathletics.org. Gives you the schedules, times and places, future times and places. Great asset to our community. Check it out when you're online. Again, oxfordathletics.org, one word. While you're on the web, check our website out. Just a reminder, programs that you see here on OCTV can be easily viewed on our website at occtv.org. Hit the Programs tab or hit YouTube, and you can watch any one of the programs that we tape here on your computer, iPad, phone, wherever you choose to watch. I urge you to watch on the weekends. Catch all the local sporting action between 1 and 6, again, here on OCTV. If you miss any of it, again, go to our website, occtv.org. Special treat to us, so we are definitely happy to have this. Coming up next, John Ochins caught up with our own OCTV broadcaster, football broadcaster, and bowling coach, JR. He has an interview in regards to bowling. We'll send you to that next. We'll see you next week. I'm Jamie Hughes, and this has been Oxford Sports.
Awesome. You know, Luke is one of the hardest working kids we have, and his ability is outstanding. So there was no doubt in my mind that sometime or another he was going to shoot a 300 game. And I was just excited that it was in high school because he's certainly been working hard towards it.
I heard a rumor that everybody's going to start bowling with 2 hands. Is that true?
Well, it is becoming more popular. They're actually changing rules and things to try to regulate it a little bit, but it certainly, if you can master it, it's a great tool and a great advantage over the one-handed player.
What did you think about that when you first saw Luke coming along with that bowling style?
Well, we've been watching Luke since he was very young. His grandfather's one of our assistant coaches, so we've known that Luke was coming with his two-handed style for quite some time. So it was very interesting, and to see his control compared to some other kids that do two-handed bowling is outstanding.
Now, Is there any question of legality with two-handed bowling?
No, it's absolutely 100% legal as long as you have your ball drilled properly, and there's no question that there's many pros now that are doing it, whereas 10 years ago there was one. Now there's a half a dozen to maybe a dozen on the pros tour that's throwing two-handed.
Well, hey, you guys are going down to Ferndale tonight. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Look forward to it. You bet.
Hey, good luck. I'm talking to Luke, and he's going to tell us about his perfect game. What do you think, Luke? How was that?
It was pretty crazy. I liked it. The feeling was pretty remarkable after, but during the game I was pretty nervous. I couldn't really breathe at all. I was shaking, and then right when I got up to the 10th frame, I was just like, all right, whatever, what can happen?
So at what point did you kind of think, hey, this could really be it?
I think probably my last ball. Yep.
Not until the very end, eh?
Yeah, not until the very end. Because I knew that I probably could have messed up or any time before that, but in the last ball I was like, okay, this is it.
So after that final strike, did you feel like you were suddenly being lifted up on the clouds, or what?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Very good. Well, we're very proud of you.
Thank you.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, Toyota is pulling the plug on Scion, the funky upstart brand it launched in 2002 to appeal to finicky younger buyers it was struggling to connect with on its own. The end will come quickly and just months after the launch of two vehicles that were seen as critical to reviving the brand. Scion will be discontinued in August, and its model lineup will be folded into the Toyota brand starting with the 2017 model year. Scion was an early hit with young buyers who perceived Toyota's offerings as reliable but utilitarian cars for their parents' generation. The current Scion IA, IM, and FRS cars will be badged as Toyotas for the 2017 model year when they arrive in dealerships in August. And over at Mercedes is betting the 2017 E-Class sedan can continue the nameplate's role as a heavyweight in its luxury segment and the source of profit margins other automakers envy, while reversing the severe drop in sales the E-Class suffered last year. With the redesign, the E-Class moves from a standard 6-cylinder gasoline engine to a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. The newest semi-autonomous driving features in the car include active lane change assist, remote parking pilot. It moves the vehicle into and out of garages and parking spaces remotely using a smartphone app. It allows occupants to get in and out of the car easily, even when the space is tight. And car-to-X communication. Enabled by mobile phones, the vehicle can exchange information with other vehicles farther ahead down the road, allowing the driver to effectively see around corners well in advance. All E-Class models available at launch will have a new 9-speed automatic transmission as standard equipment. And at Honda, on the recall front, American Honda has expanded its Takata airbag recalls by more than 2 million vehicles and warned dealers that they could face legal exposure for unrepaired vehicles if they violate a related stop sale order for the affected cars. The recall and stop sale order covers the 2008 to 2010 Accord sedans, 2007-2011 CR-V crossover, 2011 to 15 CR-Z coupe, 2009 to 13 Fit, 2013 to 14 Fit EV, and 2010 to 14 Insight Hybrid, and the 27 to 14 Ridgeline, according to a January 30 memo from Honda to its U.S. dealers. The recall also covers several Acura models, the 2005 to 2012 Acura RL, 2009 to 2014 Acura TL, 2010 to 2013 Acura ZDX, and 2013 to 2016 Acura ILX, and the 27 to 2016 Acura RDX, according to a Honda press release. All told, about 2.2 million vehicles are covered by Honda's latest expansion of the Takata recalls, the automaker said. Including the recalls just announced, 8.5 million Honda and Acura vehicles in the U.S. market have been recalled for Takata airbag inflators, the company said. Honda said the driver's side airbag inflators in these vehicles may experience overpressurization due to exposure to high temperatures and high absolute humidity. Such a buildup can cause the inflators to rupture during deployment in an accident, spraying sharp particles towards the vehicle occupants. Whew. Well, That's all for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back.